So, welcome once again, my dear friend. Today, I would like to introduce you of a kind of platform that can bridge between the Twitter to the YouTube, right? So, we know that on Twitter, we write, we share certain ideas and thoughts, including me. So, on my Twitter account, I write certain proposition or certain thought process. And sometimes due to the limitation of words and many more things, we cannot share a lot of things. So what I thought, to manage or to achieve micromanagement of the time, so whatever time I have spent on the Twitter to write certain words, so those can be connected with in a better way in the form of presentation or the discussion to the interested audience through the a bridge-like platform, and that's what I thought that can be TTYT, right? So if you look at here, this is the TTYT, Twitter to YouTube, right? So I thought it can be a better things for the presentation or for discussion on certain important aspect, right? Specifically, you know that our channel is dedicated to metabopsy, diagnostic, and certain other applications. Okay. So, my dear friend, I would like to take all of you to a very important discussion today that how the tissue patterns, it can be fingerprint, it can be nail print, how the tissue patterns are getting developed. And I would like to connect the whole thought process with one of the very recent outstanding paper published in Cell journal regarding it is protein regulated signaling pathways where the tissue patterns are generated, right? So let me to take all of you to the first proposition, that is proposition which one is whether that fingerprint and the nail impression or the nail print are evolved by the proteins from the tissue materials, and whether the evolution of these patterns, whether fingerprint or the nail print, starts from the conception period or during the fetus development stages, right? So, and first, it is important to have the background of these two, like fingerprint and nail imprint, okay? So, here is the point. So, my dear friend, if you look at here, that is, this is the fingerprint pattern, and this is the nail print, right? If you look at it. So it's a pattern, right? Generated by, some technology or some method. That is not important. The importance is whether the patterns of fingerprint or the nail print within a tissue material, does it make any sense for the biological organisms? Then question is yes, it makes sense. Then question is whether all this process that regulate uniqueness or distinctiveness, we know that fingerprint of one individual never matches with other individual, right? Likewise, it can also be to an extent true for nail print as well. So if it is so unique and distinctiveness, so the process of development of these fingerprints and the nail print may be regulated by certain very orchestrated, defined signaling pathway. And definitely proteins are going to play an important role, right? Okay. Now the next question is, what is the similarity in terms of, the pattern or the images, right? Here for fingerprint, here for nail print. Okay, images are there, patterns may be there. What is the most important similarity? I have gone through the literature, and that makes sense here. Let me to take to the another slide. That is that both fingerprints and the nail prints, the first development stage starts from the 10th week. If you look at here, or in case of fingerprint, and around 10 to 12 weeks also for the nail print. So it makes very clear and logical explanation that during the development stage of the fetus or in the conception period, these two biological materials of the tissue starts developing under the highly regulated signaling pathways, highly regulated protein controlled signaling pathways. And that is why, because it starts during the development stage of the fetus, so there's a lot of factors may be involved. It is very true that during the development of the tissue patterns, it can be genetic regulation, it can be epigenetic regulation, and it can be many more other factors are involved. But one thing is very similar between fingerprint and the nail print is the both patterns of the tissue starts during the conception stage, specifically between 10 week to the 12 week. Okay. Now, another point. So once we have the similarities, both are having pattern, both starts from the same during the fetus development stage. So the next question will be that, okay, so what is the relevancy? So relevance, my dear friend, I would like to connect the dot here with a very recent paper published in the journal Cell, where the fingerprint pattern or the ridges is controlled by a very famous two protein, that is, one is Wnt protein, other is BMP protein. So both signaling pathways controlled by these two proteins are suggested to contribute for the very unique distinctiveness or distinct unique patterns of fingerprints. So the question is here whether similar kind of protein signaling pathways during the fetus development stage may also contribute for the nail impression or the nail print pattern, because it may be true or it may not be true. The second proposition of the question may be relevant, that the kind of pattern or the kind of impression in case of fingerprint, or we can say nail print, it is not possible without the complexities, right? Without the permutation and combination, without a very unique type of wave-like pattern. So the whole concepts are coming up, and that whether the wave patterns of, here, if you look at here, the wave patterns of these development stage of like fingerprint or the nail print is a phenomena, is a biological process controlled by these like protein like Wnt or the BMP protein and maybe many other protein, right? So whether this wave-like pattern is controlled by something else as well, right? Environmental factors, we do not know, maybe diet or maybe the nutrition, right? So altogether, whether these complexities of the wave patterns of these fingerprint and the nail print in case of human or any other animal, does it make a just similarity with the sea or the ocean wave patterns, where there is an infinite combination or the capabilities of forming of the wave pattern in the ocean or the sea. So likewise, maybe it is true that in biological system also, the infinite scope of creating a permutation and combination of these wave patterns of either fingerprint and also to an extent nail print. And the next question, whether in future the artificial intelligence can be able to create a unique or distinct fingerprint pattern that are not existed at all, whether in the past or whether in the present. So whether can we create a very unique artificial fingerprint pattern, those have not existed. And that will be very interesting to see. And that will also question mark the whole capability of the artificial intelligence to go for the calculation to create such a wave pattern those existed in the biological system. So whether artificial intelligence can control, can create those patterns, that is a question mark. And that can be very interesting in future, right? Now the third question or the proposition is whether the fingerprint pattern or the nail print pattern, the humans evolved 10 millions from since 10 million or even more than that, and the humans are at current, and the humans are going to be exist even after thousands and millions years after from this date. So whether the nail fingerprint pattern or the nail fingerprint pattern, both are going to keep it on evolving, or whether the permutation and combination to create those pattern or the unique pattern will be distinct. Another question is whether the humans, those are on the earth with the unique uh, fingerprint pattern or the nail print pattern, whether that might have already occurred millions of years ago in some other human, those are not existing on the earth. So that can also be very interesting to see. And that is why what I see, that to resolve those questions, artificial intelligence may be useful to go for decoding those information, whether if any fingerprint pattern or the nail print pattern will match or may match between those individuals, those have died already, those individuals, those are surviving on the earth, those individuals, those are going to born after 1,000 years or after certain years. That is very intriguing and very complex question in the field of tissue pattern, right? And last, I would like to show you that, my dear friend, whether it is finger, whether it is fingerprint or whether it is nail print or whether it is fingerprint, it has certain application, other than the basic understanding of how these patterns are created, what are the proteins are involved. These fingerprint and nail print, we know that it has certain application in forensic science. Yes, true. Then we also know the fact that it has certain application in diagnostics. It has certain application in toxicologies. And also nowadays, what I see, artificial intelligence may bring together to create better study, the unique pattern of this fingerprint and nail print for the betterment of society, the human being on that. And I believe that this discussion will make sense and better understanding for the tissue pattern for various other applications, right? So thank you very much. Please be connected and see you.